Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's a pretty nice day. It's in the 40s, kind of a wind, but the skies are blue, and that's nice. And they're talking about snow on Monday, so we'll see. The most sensational thing that's happened is that the Department of Justice did go up the chain of the rioters to the Oath Keepers and indict them for seditious conspiracy, which basically means two or more people agreed to overthrow the government or to aid or give comfort to others who did. I think, given the communications they had, the pictures and actions of violence, and I presume they have a cooperating individual, because a case like this usually requires it. And people are saying, what are the chances of them winning? As compared to other seditious conspiracies that were much more complicated factually, in my opinion, I'd say this is an 80 to 90% winner. I don't know what was said in court today, but that won't matter right now. Down the road, we'll find out what's really going on. But, and there's always a but, my limitation on my exuberance about this is that it's still only about the rioters. And they didn't make a connection, which would seem obvious, between the Oath Keepers and Stone, who stood outside the hotel, apparently officiating over January 6th, day of insurrection. So that's a very curious period. And you have to wonder if Rhodes, who was the head of the Oath Keepers, if he was cooperating or not. There were articles early on, like last September, that suggest it might be true. So we'll find that out. But I've joined 1,100 other former DOJ alumni, mostly prosecutors, asking, demanding, entreating the Department of Justice to go further and to make sure that we do not overlook the real criminals here, which are the President Trump and his corrupt collection of aides who did this and did it with great aplomb and with arrogance, telling people what they were doing, writing about it in books. And so it should be a pretty, I won't say it's easy, because there are powerful forces here that one has to fight. And so you need real prosecutors to do this, and that should be the next step. And by the way, it would be really nice if the Department of Justice got off its hindquarters and went and issued an indictment for Meadows. That's still hanging there. Justice is hardly sweet. And there is a thing saying justice delayed is justice denied. In my experience as a defense attorney, justice delayed is justice for the defendant, but never for the state, never for the prosecution, and certainly not in this case. I think a year is enough time rest that they gave to the perpetrators of those who would overthrow our government. I think it's time to close the door on that one. Another thing that's bothered me has to do, because of our own family situation, what's happening with transplants. As you may know, there are like 106,000 people waiting for an organ, and there are just not enough. And people die waiting to see if they can get one or not. And you may have read about this fellow who got a pig's heart. And he had, in 1988, actually beat a guy so terribly that he became paralyzed. So I think we have serious ethical questions there. Also, you may have noticed we're giving transplants to people that ended up in the hospital who never did anything to take a vaccine or a booster or any of those things, and still they managed to get transplants. I'm just saying that in terms of the order of call, we should be choosing people who've taken the precautions before we take a lung or some other organ that would matter to a person who is actually a safer bet in terms of the safety of their health to absorb and to deal with a transplant. As for what should we do now? Well, we see on the Hill that we're not making headway, so it's time to talk about the campaign. That is to say, we should be campaigning, if not full-time, right up there. We should be attacking and challenging what's happening in the states, in the elections, in the courtrooms. And we should choose those cases carefully. And we should be prosecuting, as I've said with the other prosecutors from the Justice Department, we should be prosecuting the principal offenders who would have overthrown our government, but were defeated by a narrow margin of improvised and good behavior and risk to life and limb by Capitol Hill police. And we came that close to losing our government, and we can't let it happen again. And I don't know if we can win the midterms, but we sure have to fight more than we are now. So I leave you with those thoughts, and I'll talk to you on the weekend. Bye-bye.